I purposely didn't prepare this. I mean, you'd think that I would have the answer. It's like a question we get all the time.
Yeah.
And, my answer kind of changes depending, But, Chana, I just showed you the picture earlier, what was it, yesterday or today, with the living room setup. We have some nice floor standing speakers, the Yamaha, and then I have, the sub. And so we have a nice setup. And then in the middle, for video, we have like a little iMac, right, for the kids. And the reason being, we don't really want them to watch there, right? We wanted to make it like unenticing, but in case we need it, we have this little, it's a 21, I don't know what it is, 27-inch screen. And there it is, 27-inch screen. And then those ELAC speakers. So the sound is much better than the video, right? And then in the kids' room, so this is kind of funny. Kids' room. This is the kids' room.
Projector. That's awesome.
So I got what is that? 110-inch screen, but no speakers. So this is the opposite.
Yeah.
Right. We have a nice video experience, and then the speakers coming from that projector. And so, I mean, those are two ends of the extreme.
Sure.
And what would I say is more immersive? I think the sound, the one with the speakers
having good
is
speakers.
More immersive. Like the other day we watched Loki, and so it's kind of like I didn't have the theater set up down here because I was doing some stuff, and so it's like which one should we use?
You just got to turn up the bass, right? Just got to turn up the bass.
And of course we chose the one with the good sound, right? And the little screen, and it was you kind of forgot about the screen for a second, but if I was to watch so what is my answer? Where am I getting?
We don't know.
Yeah, we're waiting.
No idea.
We're waiting. Weaving around.
Here's what it is. I'm trying to cheat because I don't know if you're talking about video or audio only.
Either. No, like.
So when you say home theater, though, I think video, and the first thing that pops in my mind is you want projection. That's where you would want to spend the money. But then,
I've always said a home theater can be anything. It can be in a living room. It can be in a bedroom.
Yeah.
So I'm not just talking about like dedicated theater rooms. I mean, you can have a nice TV, LED.
Well, that changes things then.
But where do you, what's a good investment? I guess is kind of the biggest thing. Like, where can you put money in, kind of knowing or having a good idea that it's probably I'll be able to see that difference versus throwing money in something like cables and going, crap, I just spent $2,000.
Well, I mean, you can see the cables. I mean,
you can't.
That by your definition works, right?
Yeah. Here's the tricky thing about this question though, because you can like you're talking about the budget. Like, where should you spend most of your money? Is that what the question is? Like, most of your money should go towards what?
Like I mean, where do you see value in putting money in your theater room?
Because I have my projector up here is just a BenQ that's only like.
Right.
I don't know, $1,500.
Right.
But it gets the job done.
Correct.
But I wouldn't want to do without it.
Yeah. Well, the reason I state the receiver and the speakers is because anybody can watch the new Loki movie on their TV at home and experience the movie. But once you get 5.1 even, and it starts circling around, that's where they're going to get the off factor. Yeah, granted, they might get that off factor for the giant screen, but that immediately goes away once they're like, oh, yeah, that's cool.
And once the novelty of the big screen is worn off, you're like, it still sounds the same.
I can go home and watch it. They're not going to say, hey, Paul, I want to watch the new Loki. I'm coming over to watch your big screen, They can experience it. They can still experience it, yet not as awesome, but that's if you're not into home theater, then where do you start?
if your goal is to have a true dedicated home theater and you're going for video, then I think that it might make more sense to put more money into the projector. But if you've got a dark room, so that's the other thing. That's where all this it depends, because if you've got a room that has a lot of ambient light, you're going to pay up for a projector to get a lot of lumens, I guess, to overcome that ambient light. But if you've got a dark room, you can spend a little bit less. So that's one benefit of having a dedicated theater. Sure. But then, I agree that the stereo stuff or the surround sound, that's also pretty neat too. So I don't know, man. I think the answer is it depends.
It really does.
It depends.
It makes a good discussion. And what I told the guys backstage, if we you know, if I said, hey, what are the top 3 or what are the top 5, then we would all kind of tend to agree probably on those. But by bringing it down to just 2, you can see we all kind of have different priorities. And it doesn't mean that one's necessarily better or more accurate or right than the other. Just a different perspective.
What if you couldn't spend money on anything else? Like you're trying to build an experience, and you know, like you wouldn't spend money on a projector and use the built-in speaker,
right? Or the wall, or the wall to project it
again,
on.
It's not that I'm saying you're not going to spend money on those things, but like, where do you devote the most? So,
okay, here, how about this? How about if we change the question to where have you spent the most? Like, what are your most expensive things in your system? The top 2 most expensive things are, if you want to bundle speakers together, like Paul did, sub included. I mean, for me, that would be,
well, it better be speakers.
Well, it's kind of cheating because speakers, and I have the NAD T778, which is I'm using as a processor, and I have the Parasound as an amp. So I don't know. I need them both, I guess.
Yeah. And again, it's not that you're not buying those things, but like, all right, go back to Chana's thing. So Chana says, you know, receiver. So he's going to put the most money in the receiver. So does that mean that you would rather, you know, buy the $3,000 receiver and invest most of your, or a lot of your budget in that versus, you know, maybe a little bit less one and put it in something else? So that's kind of like the thought.
Oh, I see. I mean, I wouldn't go like, I would go middle of the range receiver, something with pre-outs and all the sound modes that I want. I mean, actually, if I think about it, I have the most amount of money in my system are on 2 amplifiers.
Okay. So see, in your case, it's like, I want power. You know, I want to make sure that I'm feeding these things so that
$8,000 worth of amplifiers.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
You got my whole system wrapped up in 2 amps now.
So in the after show tonight, we will be having a counseling session if anybody wants to join us.
When is too much power? Too much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you know, so as far as the AVR, I think that room correction makes speakers sound more similar than without the room correction. So that's the part that's kind of tricky because DSP is so good on a lot of these, you know, receivers.
Not if you don't spend enough money on the receiver.
This is true. This is true because you have Dirac.
That's why I said
the T778 is $3,000 and has Dirac, right?
I am silly and spent pretty even amount of money across all the. I have the Avantage and the Yamaha amp and the Epson 650, and I waited until I found really good deals on everything. And my giant projection screen, I actually stole off of Facebook, basically.
Youth man deal, baby.
I got a youth man deal on that.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like if I took Dirac and I took any of these speakers and I gave them to Aaron and he were to measure them, but Dirac corrected all of the speakers, I think that you'd start seeing that a lot of them are starting to measure more similarly than they naturally would. Would you say that might be true, Aaron?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're taking good speakers to begin with, it's closer to true. Yeah, but obviously not if you take a crap speaker and try to compare it to another, a good speaker. And by crap,
because
I mean
off axis. Because you're talking about like off axis,
horrible directivity. Yeah. But if both of them are pretty good to begin with, then I think you start running to the point where you can make them. Car audio is that way, man. Like a lot of people, once RTA became commonplace in car audio, everybody started saying, I tuned to this house curve, and everybody started tuning the same house curve, and then all the cars start sounding very, very similar tonally. You're like, okay. So,
and if you turn off DSP, then it's just like,
it's a wreck. It's a total nightmare. Yeah. It's like, what the heck? This is terrible. This sounds like Bose 901.